Hey everyone, let's talk a little bit about you hiding yourself. For those of you who are new to my space, my name is Jenny Glick. I'm a relationship mentor, a licensed marriage and family therapist, certified sex therapist. I'm really a way shower for women who are tired of feeling stuck in their present situation and who are willing to turn the light back on themselves to see where it is that they are perpetuating the same victim story, the same stuck narrative, the same myopic programming that is perpetuating the kind of relationship that they don't want to be having. And one of the things I want to talk to you about today is how it is that you censor yourself. I have personally been quite outraged by the amount of censorship that's been happening over the last year. And what I know to be true from being in academia for a long time and sort of living on sort of the fringe, I guess, of society in some ways, working with marginalized communities, is that it's not uncommon that there are narratives that are the narrative here, but then there's more, right? And I've become very expert at helping couples go from this version, this program that they believe about their partner to more. And the only way you go from here to here is through curiosity. And those of you in this space who are couples therapists, and I know there are many of you, you well know that when we lose curiosity in a marriage, we lose the marriage, right? And it's true in our interpersonal relationships as well. When we lose curiosity with the other, whoever the other person is, whether it's on the other side of the political spectrum from you, whether it's the other side of religion, faith, you know, socioeconomic status, there are so many others, right, in the world. Regardless of where the other is, when we lose curiosity and when we collapse into certainty, right? And in marriage, I see this all the time where it's this belief, I know that my partner is a scoundrel for having the affair. Well, yeah, that's one narrative. And it's been my job to help expand those narratives with my clients to help them get curious and ask more powerful questions. Because when they get stuck in this narrative that's fueled by fear and righteousness, I'm right, you're wrong, you did this, that's a bunch of BS, you shouldn't have done it. Okay, right? And I'm not saying that that's not true, that's part of it. But when we broaden our understanding, our questions, when we start to practice wonder, which is hard to do, right? When we feel scared and angry and righteous. I don't want to be curious. I just want my partner to be a scoundrel. I want them to give me everything and move the hell out, right? And that's fine if that's where you want to live. Most people who come to work with me recognize that that's a toxic place for them. And they have some kind of understanding that they would benefit from broadening their perspective. And so I help them do a couple of things. One, breathe, learn how to ground. We do that through daily morning practices that I encourage my women clients to do. And then the other piece is to learn to anchor themselves in something bigger than them, whatever their spiritual practices, faith practice, nature practice, yoga practice, breath practice, whatever it might be, to find that connection. Because if I don't find that connection here through some kind of practice, then what ends up happening is my certainty and security is 100% put in the other person. That means that unless or until they change, do it differently, do what I believe they should do, I don't feel safe, right? And so this shows up so often in marriage because we become pretty codependent in marriage. And it's not a bad thing. It's how it is that we learn to grow in this world. The struggle is the ground in which we evolve and we grow into higher states of consciousness, the ability to be curious instead of being triggered and going to fear and wanting to, harm somebody. Like we know that that's a lower frequency on the energy frequency scale that I talk about a lot. Like clearly punching somebody in the face or wishing them harm is not a higher way of living, right? But all of us are going to be faced with fear throughout our lives. And that fear pretty much always comes through difference, right? Difference in religion, sexual orientation, background, speech, language, money, the list goes on and on and on. And if we want to broaden our ability to connect with the other in your marriage or in your neighborhood or within your family at large, it is really important for you to be able to get out of a myopic story that is keeping you trapped in a place of certainty. It is a brave and courageous thing to be willing to be wrong, to be willing to examine your beliefs, to know that your beliefs are your beliefs, and still be curious about somebody else, right? It's the easiest thing in the world to believe that I'm right and you're wrong. Like, that's not hard, right? And in my belief, we're not here for that, right? That doesn't stretch us and grow us. And so one of the places that I really invite you into is considering where it is that you can expand yourself to be curious about your partner, especially in places where you want to collapse into your dominant programming of right and wrong, good and bad. And for bonus points, to look at where it is that you can do that with your neighbor, your friend, your colleague, whatever other there might be in your life right now. I certainly find myself uh, listening to different things externally, and I can feel that sort of outrage, like, who would do that? Or why would that person say that? And I know that that statement that I say, it others somebody. And as soon as I other them and I make myself right and them wrong, right? Now we don't have community, we don't have connection. And what I know is we're all different and we're all going to be different. We're all going to show up differently. Some of us will breastfeed, some of us will bottle feed, some of us will have cesarean, some of us will have, not cesarean, some of us will practice certain religions. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And so to believe that everyone is going to do one thing is to not understand that human beings are here to express themselves fully as who they are, which by definition will be different from me. And then how do we collaborate through that difference? It's exactly what we're invited to do in marriage, right? It always doesn't surprise me anymore. But it used to surprise me when I started as a couples therapist, where I would meet couples and, one of them would say, I hate smokers, and he's a smoker. I'm like, did he smoke when you got married? Yeah. Okay. I hate Republicans, and she's a Republican. Was she a Republican when you got married? Yeah. Like, so interesting, right? And so how do you, right now in real time, in your real life, how do you stretch beyond your comfort zone? How do you broaden yourself into a place of curiosity, even when you might want to judge, regardless of what it's about? And there are, a dozen different relevant topics right now that we can choose from. And I see all of it as an opportunity to grow, because wherever I feel triggered or outraged externally, that's a place for me to look at, where do I do that in myself? Where do I exile parts of myself and not give it space? Where do I not stay curious about myself? Where do I go to fear in myself? Where do I choose to make other people wrong rather than being curious, right? The list goes on and on. That's the kind of depth-oriented work that I do with women, so that their marriages, their relationships, and honestly, their lives become a really clear curriculum for their own growth. And they don't have to like be wrestling against it anymore. They don't have to be wandering around saying, why would he do that? Why would she do that? They can look at, where is that true in me? And what am I being invited into in this moment? Rather than pushing, right? Practicing resistance around what's happening in your marriage or in the world. Because if we stay in resistance, there's a spiritual saying that what we fight against, we strengthen. So the more I fight against the thing, the more I strengthen it. And so, what is it that I'm for, right? If you're for love, if you're for connection, if you're for health, if you're for equality, how do you show up being for those things, even when there's a part of you that like gets all fisted and angry? Like that's when you show up in those higher realms. It's easy to do it when it's with your little tiny baby or your best friend or somebody who's same with you, or if you're one of my students with me, right? It's harder to do it with someone who is on the other side of the aisle with whatever that aisle thing is. But that's the moment that we're in right now. We're being invited to do that. How cool is that? Because what else are we going to do, right? We may as well grow. So if you are interested in potentially working with me, DM me or send me an email. I will be starting my next cohort in about 4 weeks in September in my 8-week relationship mastery program. And it's really about learning how to master yourself, because as you come into full empowerment, full cohesiveness, full integrity with who you are and how you think, how you believe, how you feel, and how you show up, then your external life starts changing pretty dramatically. And learning how to stay that course, stay that practice with yourself. And it's not for everyone. I often say my students are very uncommon because they're willing to turn that lens back on themselves and stop blaming others and being the victim to their partner, their world, their family of origin, whatever it may be. So reach out to me and I will ask you a few questions to see if we're a fit. And if we are, you can join my cohort in September. Thanks so much for being here. Great to see you.